Ladies and gentlemen, 17 months ago, I became a mother. I had a baby, carried her for 9 months, and now she's a beautiful baby. So of all the 6 people in this hall, I shall know the best. And that is why, ladies and gentlemen, I feel that it is quite naive for our opening government or opening opposition to come up here and suddenly say that in the process of bringing a beautiful life in this world, the prerequisite should be the father. Why? Because the father is emotionally attached, because the father probably goes through morning sickness, the father goes through hip changes, weight change, the father, goes through all these physical, emotional, and mental effects during the course of the pregnancy. But I know this is truistic because it is true. It's a fact. It comes from me. They don't. They support you. They say everything's going to be all right. They say it's okay if you throw up in the morning, afternoon, and night, and then they go to sleep. Ladies and gentlemen, this side of the house has no idea what a mother goes through. I support that babies are beautiful. That, it's a beautiful thing to bring these babies to the world. But I, first-hand experience, know that it needs more than just the knowledge of, all right, a baby is a beautiful thing to have, let's have it. No, it takes more than that. And it takes a lot of preparation, mentally and emotionally and physically, sit down and take later, to become a mother. And for some women, they just can't face that. For some women, they're not ready. And as a mother, as a woman, I respect that choice. I respect that opinion. And I think that the House will have to respect the mother's choice, whether or not to keep the baby or not. Before I go further, I'll tackle Tarish's extension. Because other than shuffling the opening government, Tarish really didn't do much. So I sort of found something from the extension that sounded like, look, this counter proposal from the opposition is shutting fathers out. I don't understand this shutting fathers out. Because you only shut the father if you say, hey babe, I'm pregnant. From now on, you shut up. But no, discussion happens. You talk with your husband, but ultimately, whether you like it or not all discussion will come to a consent. Not all discussion will come to an equal result. The dad may say yes later, and the father may say no. And this is where, ladies and gentlemen, we support the opening opposition by saying, yes, the ultimate decision has to lie with the mother, something they will expound on my extension. I'll take you in 2 minutes. And Tarish has this very funny logical link, because this is what she said. A father is only responsible if they're involved in the decision-making of deciding whether or not to keep a baby. That's funny. A lot of people have 11 kids, 15 kids, 21 kids, never never agree to an abortion, still leave their kids halfway, still neglect their babies. There is no linkage to whether or not a father will be responsible to the decision of having that baby in the first place. A man is responsible if he's responsible, regardless of whether he decides the baby should be born or not. He will be responsible in supporting the wife throughout the process of abortion, regardless of whether he agrees to her or not, ladies and gentlemen. That is the measure of a true responsible man. And these closing articles.
I'm sure there's an extension in here somewhere.
Yeah.
We get to it at some point.
No, I'm still at 4. I'll have it at 4.5. They also echoed the opening government's point when they talked about this right to life of the unborn child. The problem with the government side in this house is the right to life to that unborn child is halfway, it's not absolute. You know why? Because according to the Prime Minister, if the dad decides to keep the baby, the sanctity of life has to be preserved. What if the dad decides that he agrees to abortion, which means he's ditching the sanctity of life? So there is no right to life. You know why? Because they also know that you cannot really ask the opinion of an unborn child. Hey, you think it's good to come out after 9 months? No. Because the argument of whether there is a life in the womb is also very ambiguous. But what is not ambiguous, what is sure, and what is being agreed upon is the right to live, the right to carry that child for 9 months lies in the mother. I'll get to our extension. because the opening opposition talked more about the consequences of this proposal to the child. I'll talk to you and focus more on the right of the woman, something that has been generally talked about at the beginning. Ladies and gentlemen, I give you a picture of what pregnancy is all about, trust me. You know, you want to have a happy pregnancy because the physical change, the emotional change takes a toll on each and every woman. And what you need to have to allow that this woman goes through a healthy and happy pregnancy is very first, the woman chooses to go through this pregnancy. You do not want this woman to be reluctant mothers, to go through motherhood reluctantly, ladies and gentlemen. Because it does not just affect what they go through during the period of pregnancy, but it also affects them postpartum. When you force a mother to endure all the changes that they did not willingly go through in the first place, that somebody forces upon them, what it will lead to is postpartum depression. Under normal pregnancies, ladies and gentlemen, statistics show that a lot of mothers go through postpartum depression because raising a child is not an easy task. Add on to that the fact that you never asked for this experience in the first place, but it was your husband that forced you to take this child, and we feel that it's unfair for the mother. They have to endure all this, ladies and gentlemen, and on top of that, you're not taking their opinion into account. Ladies and gentlemen, it's easy for fathers to say that you have to have that baby because they can easily detach themselves from that baby. But mothers who decide to keep the baby, who are forced to keep the baby, can't just, you know what, I want to go dancing tonight, I'll leave this here, this 10 pounds of womb here, and I'll walk out. It doesn't happen. That carrying, that endurance of pregnancy cannot be detached from the mother. And which is why, ladies and gentlemen, this proposal puts a patriarchal concept on deciding on whether or not the child should be born. Because when you say it's a prerequisite for the father, then it's also agreeing to the fact that mother's opinion does not count. Ladies and gentlemen, with that, I'm very happy to focus.